Triumphant Light has just released for TCG Pocket, and one of the main features of the expansion is the set of cards centered around God himself, Arceus. But we're not here to talk about the meta, we're here to look at the pretty pictures because I am the last person who should be talking about competitive Pocket. So in this video, we're going over the art rares and special art rares you can pull from this set. Specifically the artists who worked on them and some other illustrations on the physical TCG. If you're someone who started TCG collecting with Pocket and you want to look into some of the physical TCG sets you might enjoy opening, this video is for you. So let's dive right in. We're starting things off strong with this Houndoom Art Rare. Now, this is a card I wish was a physical one that I could keep in my binder. Matazo, who worked on this, also created the Glaceon from Spacetime Smackdown. While that illustration showed a different side to their style, I really feel like their work on this set showcases their dark and brooding expression a little bit more. Just look at the illustration rares they have in their portfolio. My favorite has to be the Frostlass from Twilight Masquerade, as it's a really dark and eerie card. Like, the Pokemon looks as if it's about to take someone's soul. And you want to know the best part? All of these cards are currently at under $10 each. That is, if the finance bros of Twitter haven't overhyped these illustration rares just yet. But departing from the dark and mysterious, we're taking a look at Taiga Kayama's Marill Art Rare. If the style looks familiar, that's probably because you also pulled the Rhyperior art from the previous set. They're a relatively new artist to the TCG, having started with Chansey from 151. But they've since gone on to create a handful of cozy story-driven cards. My personal favorite being this Vanillish from Paradox Rift. I'm a huge fan of the gentle colors and smooth line art, and honestly, Vanillish has gotten a lot of hate over the years because it's literally just an ice cream cone, but I think cards like this that feature it in a very slice of life kind of way make the Pokemon so much more likable. Like, how can you hate this? And while the Clive special illustration rare from Paldean Fates isn't a chase for many people, I personally think it's well done. I especially enjoy all the references to the core games here. They even have Charlos the Charcadet in there. Taiga Kayama also has another art rare on the way with Heatwave Arena, featuring Rotom this time. It's unknown whether people will go crazy for the card, but given that we just got a Rotom art rare in Spacetime Smackdown, I'd say it's a welcome addition to the physical TCG. Speaking of unknown, it's not an Arceus focus set without Unown making an appearance. If you couldn't tell already, IKEDA Saki's work features a group of Unown that spell out the word check, which is the card's ability, and yes, Tetsukayama's common rarity Unown also has the same thing. So far, IKEDA Saki only has one illustration rare in the TCG, and that is the Tapu Bulu from Shrouded Fable. It's really cool because if you put it side by side with their Unown art, it kind of looks like both Pokemon are in the same jungle area. IKEDA Saki hasn't worked on a lot of illustrations for the TCG yet, but you can usually tell it's their work from the bold use of outlines and the light shading work. There's also a strong use of natural patterns in the background that just make the Pokemon pop out even more. A Pokemon that I think might be fun for IKEDA Saki to work on next is Sudowoodo because the Pokemon just likes to blend in. And while I can't say Sudowoodo is one of my favorite Pokemon, we've gotta talk about Yuriko Akase's art rare. The closer you look, the finer the lines. This is the same in their Timber card from Twilight Masquerade, which features the Pokemon helping with construction. I also really love the calm, relaxed use of color in their Magnemite from Stellar Crown, which I still have never pulled, by the way. And just look at how they've blended the colors to create the stunning sunset in their Executor SIR from Surging Sparks. I try to keep pulling for this card, but Surging Sparks is still impossible to find where I live, and while I could always opt to find the single, $60 is no joke. I mean, I'd probably have to work myself to the bone at Fuego Ironworks to afford it, which by the way is featured in Yukihiro Tada's Magnemite card. If you played any of the Sinnoh games, this is where you can find the Pokemon. And while Soichiro Gunjima's Magneton from Triumphant Light also features Fuego Ironworks, you actually can't encounter it in the wild here. Yukihiro Tada's work as a comic artist shines through not just in this card, but in their work on the physical TCG. Their Surging Sparks Dug Trio perfectly captures the laid-back environment of the Alola region. And most pincer cards portray the Pokemon as mean and aggressive, but this one in Twilight Masquerade offers a fresh perspective on the bug type. Yukihiro Tada also has a handful of SIRs from Prismatic Evolutions. They're usually not everyone's favorite pulls because in the Eevee set, you probably want to pull, you know, actual Eevee cards, but I can see this line of cards being a chase for many of my friends who love Ogerpon. It's such a departure from the usual work, which I think is really brave. I, for one, would be very thankful if I pulled any of these. Speaking of gratitude, I'm really thankful we got this Shaymin card by MINAMINAMI Take. I mean, just look at the colors, the composition. MINAMINAMI Take participated in the illustration contest in 2022 with their Arcanine entry, and they've gone on to create even more art for the TCG since. Like many contemporary TCG artists, their illustrations have a sense of story or direction, such as with the Charmander promo from Obsidian Flame. The Pidgey must have been taunting this Charmander all afternoon, judging by how big the flame on its tail is. Interestingly, this card also connects with the Bulbasaur and Squirtle illustration rares from Stellar Crown. What I think is so unique about MINAMINAMI Take's work is how versatile they are with conveying mood through their line art. From more serious and grounded with more definite lines and a stark contrast between colors, to more dreamy and whimsical with fuller strokes and pastel shades. And when it comes to this style of art, we've gotta talk about Rika as well, who made this stunning Glaceon special art rare. It actually looks like the Glaceon is in the same forest as the reboot from their Stellar Crown illustration rare. Rika also made the Cresselia from Spacetime Smackdown, and I think their watercolory style is the perfect fit as it gives this illustration a more bedtime story sort of vibe. It's a little similar in feel to their Dragonair from 151, with just a splash of high fantasy to it. Rika also does an amazing job at mixing the mystical with the mundane, like in their Mantike art, which almost has a sort of Jules Verne science fiction take to it. But the card that I think is gonna go insane in both the Japanese and English TCG markets is probably Cynthia's Rose Raid from Heatwave Arena. The card is just so well done, and the fact that it's only an art rare means you get around 3 chances to pull it in a box of Japanese booster packs, which I'm definitely gonna do when the set comes out. And of course, you can't have Glaceon without Leafeon, which Saino Misaki absolutely nails with this special art rare. Saino Misaki is a versatile artist, having done many gorgeous Pokemon illustrations, but at the same time, some dynamic trainer cards as well. This Melanie from Crown Zenith is especially underrated. And why not have both trainer and Pokemon in a single card? Just look at the colors in this trainer gallery Mawa from Silver Tempest. We absolutely cannot talk about Saino Misaki's trainer gallery cards without mentioning their Mimikyu from Brilliant Stars. If we ever get trainer specific Pokemon cards in TCG Pocket, Saino Misaki has to be at the top of everyone's list. But a card that's probably at the top of everyone's list right now has gotta be this Garchomp SAR by Toriyufu. They're a relatively new artist to the TCG, which is why I'm glad they got to work on such an insane project. It really reminds me of the Mewtwo V-Star illustration Go-san made for Crown Zenith, and the Charizard V-Star promo by Kiyotaka Oshiyama that goes alongside it. I'm hoping we can also get Arceus' perspective at some point. The only other illustration where Toriyufu has worked on so far is this very relaxed Vibrava from Surging Sparks, which I know a lot of Flygon fans really enjoy. It's actually quite a departure from their usual work, as their cards typically feature Pokemon in dynamic action-packed poses. I'm so hoping that with the success of Pocket, we get to see more of Toriyufu in the physical TCG. And another artist we definitely need to see more of has gotta be Masa, who made this Probopass SAR. It's a Pokemon that I didn't really expect to get such stunning art in Triumphant Light, but I think Masa was the perfect artist for the job. So far, they've only done 2 illustrations for the TCG, my favorite being this photo quality Meltan from Temporal Forces, which is really giving 19th century Impressionism vibes. Meanwhile, their Torkoal from Twilight Masquerade perfectly captures a moment of rest during a hard day's work for the Pokemon and its trainer. Both cards are around just $5 each, so if you were looking for really cool illustration rares to add to your collection, or maybe even start one, I'd say this is a good place to start. And last but not least, you can't have a set centered around God without giving God himself an insane immersive. The Arceus Immersive Rare is made by Takumi Wada, and I think they were the right artist for the job, as nothing says divine intervention quite like 19th century fresco, which is similar in composition to the Dialga from Surging Sparks. Takumi Wada has such a masterful approach to lighting and perspective, and you can see this in their Aegis illustration rare from Paradox Rift, where the Pokemon looks equal parts regal and terrifying, standing atop a stone throne where people must have buried royalty. And just look at the insane color harmony in their Fluttermane promo card from Temporal Forces. It actually looks like the viewer was left for dead. On the other hand, this Skarmory from Surging Sparks looks more chill, like something I'd find hanging at an 80s themed diner. They've recently made some uncommon cards from Battle Partners, but I'm really hoping we can see them work on a special illustration rare in the nearby future. I know it's a relatively smaller expansion, but what do you guys think? I'm really loving the fact that we're seeing more of the newer TCG artists get to have their work shine in TCG Pocket. Also, if you'd like us to go over some of the arts from the previous sets, let me know down below. Leave a like or a sub so we can see each other in the next video. Bye!